In a world where Naruto Uzumaki gave everything, his strength, his loyalty, his very soul, the world took something it could never replace. His wife, his child, taken in a single moment, gone without mercy. The hero who once smiled through pain finally reached his breaking point, not from hatred, but from loss. What remains is not the boy who dreamed of being Hokage, not the savior of the shinobi world. What stands now is a man shattered beyond redemption, a father with nothing left to protect, a husband with nothing left to lose. And when a man like Naruto Uzumaki finally snaps, the world does not survive the aftermath.
The sea stretched endlessly before him, waves crashing against the rocks below with a rhythm that had become almost meditative. Naruto Uzumaki sat at the cliff's edge, his legs dangling over the precipice, staring at the horizon as if searching for something he knew he would never find. He was 19 now, though he felt ancient. His blonde hair whipped in the coastal wind, longer than it used to be, unkempt. The orange jacket that once defined him lay discarded somewhere behind him. Now he wore dark traveling clothes, practical and forgettable. He wanted to be forgotten. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of red and orange. Beautiful, Kimiko would have loved this view. She had always found beauty in simple things, sunsets, wildflowers, the laughter of children. His hand clenched into a fist. Don't think about her, don't think about any of it. But the memories came anyway, uninvited and relentless. 3 years ago, Naruto was 15 when he first saw her. The training trip with Jiraiya had taken them to a small village near the border of the Land of Fire. While the old pervert was doing research at some inn, Naruto had wandered through the town, restless as always. That's when he heard the laughter. An orphanage sat at the edge of the village, modest but well kept. Children played in the yard, and among them was a young woman with long dark hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She was 17, maybe 18, wearing a plain kimono, and she was helping a small boy who had scraped his knee. Naruto stopped and watched. There was something about the way she moved, the gentleness in her voice as she comforted the child, that drew him in. She looked up, noticed him staring, and smiled. "Can I help you?" Naruto felt his face heat up. No, I grew up in an orphanage too. In Konoha." Her expression softened. "Then you understand." "Yeah," he said, walking closer. "Yeah, I do." Her name was Kimiko. She was an orphan who had aged out of the system and chose to stay, to help the younger ones who were going through what she had endured. She had no family, no ninja training, no grand dreams of glory. She just wanted to make sure the kids had someone who cared. Naruto found himself returning to that village every chance he got during the training journey. At first, he told himself it was because he wanted to help with the orphanage. He'd play with the kids, fix things around the building, bring supplies when he could. But really, it was to see her. They would talk for hours. About their childhoods, about loneliness, about what it meant to be unwanted. Kimiko understood him in a way that even his friends in Konoha couldn't. She knew what it was like to be invisible, to wonder if anyone would ever truly see you. "You're different from other ninja I've met," she told him one evening as they sat by a stream outside the village. "Different how? You still have hope. Most ninja I've known, they're hard, closed off. But you believe things can get better." Naruto grinned. "That's because they can. I'm gonna be Hokage someday, believe it. And when I am, no kid will ever have to grow up alone like we did." She laughed, and the sound made something in his chest tighten. "I believe you," she said softly. That night, under the stars, he kissed her for the first time. Over the next year, their relationship deepened. Jiraiya noticed but said nothing, though Naruto caught him watching with an expression that was hard to read, concern mixed with something like sadness. Naruto was in love, real, consuming, all-encompassing love. This wasn't the childhood crush he'd had on Sakura. This was different. Kimiko saw him, not the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, not the class clown, not the future Hokage. Just Naruto, and she loved him anyway. When he was 15 and she was 17, young and reckless and certain that their feelings would last forever, they slept together. It was desperate and passionate and everything that first times between two people who loved each other should be. Afterward, lying in the darkness of her small room at the orphanage, Naruto held her close and made promises he fully intended to keep. "I'm gonna make you happy," he whispered. I swear it, we're gonna have a real family. The kind we always wanted. I know, she whispered back. I know. Weeks later, Kimiko told him she was pregnant. Naruto was 16 years old and about to become a father. The fear was immediate and overwhelming. He was still training, still learning, still just a kid himself. But beneath the fear was something else, hope. Fierce, burning hope. This was his chance to give a child everything he never had. Love, stability, a home. He told Jiraiya, who went silent for a long moment before placing a heavy hand on Naruto's shoulder. Being a father is the hardest thing you'll ever do, the old Sannin said quietly. But I think you'll be good at it. Then Jiraiya told him the truth. About Minato Namikaze, about Kushina Uzumaki, about who Naruto really was. Your parents loved you more than anything, Jiraiya said. Your father was the 4th Hokage. Your mother was one of the strongest kunoichi I ever knew. They died to protect you and the village. And now you're going to be a father too. Naruto cried that night, for the parents he'd never known, for the legacy he carried, for the child he was about to bring into the world. Jiraiya gave him scrolls, techniques that belonged to his father, the flying Raijin, advanced sealing jutsu, everything Minato had left behind. You should have these, he said. They're your birthright. Naruto returned to Konoha with Kimiko when she was 5 months pregnant. The reaction was explosive. Sakura's jaw dropped. You're going to be a dad? Naruto knocked someone up? Kiba's voice carried across the entire street. Even Kakashi seemed at a loss for words, his visible eye widening as he took in Kimiko's obvious pregnancy and Naruto's protective stance beside her. Tsunade, the 5th Hokage, summoned them both immediately. You're 16 years old, she said, her voice tight with barely controlled frustration. Do you have any idea what you've done? Yeah, Naruto said, meeting her eyes steadily. I'm gonna be a father. And I'm not running from it. Something in his tone made Tsunade pause. She studied him for a long moment, then sighed. Fine, then we'll make sure you're ready. Sakura will monitor the pregnancy. I'll handle the delivery personally. This child will be born healthy and safe, do you understand? Thank you, Granny Tsunade, Naruto said, relief flooding through him. The next months were strange. Naruto split his time between missions and preparing for fatherhood. He fixed up a small apartment, read every book on parenting he could find, practiced swaddling techniques on a training dummy until Sakura physically stopped him. Kimiko settled into the village, though Naruto could tell she was overwhelmed by all the ninja activity. She was gentle and quiet in a place that valued strength and skill. But people were kind to her, mostly because of Naruto. Sakura became her friend, checking on her regularly, helping her navigate life in Konoha. He really loves you, Sakura told Kimiko once, after an examination. I know, Kimiko said, her hand resting on her swollen belly. Sometimes I can't believe it's real. It's real, Sakura assured her. And the baby's healthy, everything looks perfect. But nothing stayed perfect. When Kimiko went into labor, it started normally. Naruto held her hand, whispered encouragement, tried to keep the panic off his face. Tsunade and Sakura were there, the 2 best medical ninja in the world. Then something went wrong. Naruto wasn't allowed in the room. He paced outside, Kurama's chakra leaking out in waves of anxiety. Inside, he could hear shouting, the frantic activity of medical jutsu being deployed. Kakashi appeared at some point, standing beside him silently. Sakura came out once, her face pale, and went back in without meeting his eyes. Hours passed, then Tsunade emerged, and Naruto knew. He knew from the look on her face, from the way her shoulders slumped, from the tears she was visibly holding back. I'm sorry, she said. There were complications, the bleeding, we couldn't stop it. And the baby. Naruto, I'm so sorry. The world tilted. What? The word came out wrong, distant, like someone else was speaking. Kimiko is gone, Tsunade said, her voice breaking. And the baby didn't make it. We tried everything. I swear to you, we tried everything. Naruto pushed past her into the room. Kimiko lay on the bed, pale and still. So still. Sakura stood in the corner, tears streaming down her face. Blood. There was so much blood. And beside Kimiko, wrapped in a blanket, was a tiny form. Their child, a girl, perfect and beautiful and dead. Naruto fell to his knees. The days after were a blur. There was a funeral, people spoke, Naruto didn't hear any of it. He stood there in the rain, staring at 2 graves, and felt nothing. Everything inside him had gone numb. Sakura tried to talk to him. Kakashi tried, even Tsunade, who rarely showed emotion, sat with him and told him it wasn't his fault. But it was. He should have protected them. He should have done something. He was the son of the 4th Hokage, he had the 9 tails inside him, he was supposed to be strong. And he couldn't save the 2 people who mattered most. He tried to go on. Tried to put on a brave face, to be the Naruto everyone expected. But at night, alone in the apartment he'd prepared for his family, he would stare at the empty crib and feel the darkness creeping in. One night, he couldn't take it anymore. He just wanted it all to be over. He just wanted it all to be over. He tried to rip the seal off. Tried to tear Kurama out of him, consequences be damned. If the village was destroyed, if he died, what did it matter? But when he entered the seal, he found something unexpected. His parents, Minato and Kushina, stood there, chakra imprints left behind in the seal, and they looked at him with such love and sadness that it broke something inside him all over again. "Naruto," Kushina said, reaching for him. "Oh, sweetheart. Why?" he demanded, his voice raw. "Why did you leave me? Why did you seal this thing inside me? Why did everything I touched turn to ash?" "You didn't deserve this pain," Minato said quietly. "None of this is your fault." "Then whose fault is it?" Naruto shouted. "She's dead, my daughter is dead, and I couldn't do anything." Kushina tried to hold him, but he pulled away. "I don't want your comfort," he said. "I don't want anything, I just want them back." His parents talked to him for hours, trying to reach him, trying to pull him back from the edge. But their words felt hollow. They were dead too. Everyone he loved ended up dead. His parents' chakra faded and Naruto was left alone. And for the first time, the 9 tails actually looked at this boy, feeling the pain and anguish coming from him. Naruto had wanted to kill himself, to die because he felt so broken, more broken than he's ever felt in his entire life, and nothing mattered to him anymore. But the 9 tails did not know why. There was something that, the pain in those eyes, a beast that was sealed for its entire life, most of its livelihood when it came to this village. Because of this damn village, and yet, as it looked at this Jinchuriki that was different from the rest, the 9 tails hesitated with its anger towards this boy. And then Kurama spoke. "The pain will only get worse if you remain within this village." The 9 tails also despise this village, and yet, it could have used this moment to convince and twist this boy to its whim, and yet it did not. Not even itself know why, as it remembered the words of the sage a long time ago, and there was just something about this child that affected it more than it thought. I know. Over the following weeks, something shifted between Naruto and Kurama. The seal that separated them began to dissolve, not through force but through mutual understanding. The fox stopped being a prisoner and became something else. An ally, maybe even a friend, but it wasn't enough to heal the wound in Naruto's soul. 3 months after the funeral, Naruto gathered the scrolls Jiraiya had given him, his father's techniques, his mother's sealing methods, everything that was his birthright. In the dead of night, he left Konoha without a word to anyone. He took the flying Raijin scroll, kunai, supplies, and disappeared into the world. Naruto Uzumaki, the boy who never gave up, had finally given up. Present day, Naruto. The voice pulled him from the memories. Jiraiya stood behind him, looking older and more worn than Naruto remembered. "How long have you been there?" Naruto asked without turning around. "A few minutes. I didn't want to disturb you." "Then why are you still here?" Jiraiya sat down beside him, close enough to talk but far enough to give him space. "Because I've been looking for you for 6 months, and I'm not leaving until we have a conversation." Naruto kept on moving whenever he's found or spotted, but Jiraiya was persistent, not giving up the chase. The last time he saw Naruto was 6 months ago. The village hadn't branded him as a missing nin or anything. It was Jiraiya who took the responsibility to bring him back. "There's nothing to talk about. There's everything to talk about. The village needs you, your friends need you, the world needs you." Naruto laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "The world doesn't need anything from me." "You're wrong." "Am I?" Naruto finally turned to look at him. "What's happened since I left? Has the world ended? Has Konoha fallen?" "No, but then they don't need me." Jiraiya's expression hardened. "Sasuke killed Itachi. That got a reaction." Naruto's eyes widened slightly. "He awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan," Jiraiya continued. "And he's joined the Akatsuki. He's working with that masked man who calls himself Tobi. They're planning something, Naruto. Something big, so send someone else to stop them." "There is no one else. You're the, I'm nothing." Naruto's voice cracked. "I couldn't even protect my own family. What makes you think I can protect anyone else? Because that's who you are. That's who you've always been." "No," Naruto said quietly. "That's who I was. That person died the same day Kimiko did. Jiraiya was silent for a long moment. Then, I know you're hurting. I know you've lost more than anyone should ever have to lose. But running away, hiding out here, this isn't the answer. It's the only answer I have. The Akatsuki is looking for you. Actively hunting you. Let them come, Naruto said. I don't care anymore. You should care. Because if they extract the fox from you, you'll die. And then everything Kimiko loved about you, everything she believed in, it'll all be gone. Naruto stood abruptly. Don't you dare use her against me. I'm not using her. I'm reminding you that she loved you because you had hope. Because you believed you could change the world. Are you really going to throw that away? She's dead, Naruto shouted. Our daughter is dead. There's nothing left to hope for. Then why are you still alive? The question hung in the air between them. I don't know, Naruto admitted, his voice breaking. I don't know why I'm still here. Because some part of you still wants to live, Jiraiya said softly. Some part of you still believes there's something worth fighting for. Naruto shook his head. You're wrong. Then prove it. Come back to Konoha. Face everyone you left behind. Look Sakura in the eye and tell her you've given up. Look Kakashi in the eye. Look Tsunade in the eye. If you can do that, if you can truly walk away from everything you once cared about, then I'll let you go. You think I can't? I think you won't. Naruto turned away. Leave, pervy sage, before I make you. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Jiraiya studied him for a long moment, seeing the coldness in those blue eyes, the emptiness that had replaced the fire. His student, his godson, was lost in a way he didn't know how to fix. I'll go, Jiraiya said finally. But I'm bringing Kakashi and Sakura back with me in a few days. They deserve a chance to talk to you. Don't bother. Too late. The decision's made. Jiraiya stood and walked back toward the forest. At the tree line, he paused. For what it's worth, Naruto. I'm sorry I couldn't save her. I'm sorry you had to go through this. And I'm sorry that the world keeps taking from you. But giving up won't bring her back. It'll just make her sacrifice meaningless. She didn't sacrifice anything, Naruto said quietly. She just died, because I wasn't strong enough to protect her. Jiraiya had no answer to that. He disappeared into the trees, leaving Naruto alone once more. As the sun set completely, painting the sky in deep purples and blacks, Naruto sat back down at the cliff's edge. The darkness inside him felt heavier than ever. He's right, you know. The voice came from within, Kurama's rumbling tone echoing in his mind. Not you too, Naruto muttered. I'm just saying, the old man has a point. Sitting out here feeling sorry for yourself isn't going to change anything. And what would you have me do? I don't know. Fight. Live. Something other than this. Why do you even care? There was a pause. Then, because you cared about me when no one else did. You saw me as more than a monster. More than a weapon. You saw me as something worth saving. I guess I'm trying to return the favor. I'm not worth saving. That's not for you to decide. Naruto closed his eyes. The bond between him and Kurama had grown stronger. The seal was completely gone now, dissolved by mutual trust. The fox could leave if it wanted, could take its power and abandon this broken vessel. But it hadn't. Why did you stay? Naruto asked. When the seal broke, you could have left. You could have been free. Maybe I am free, Kurama said. Maybe freedom isn't about running away. Maybe it's about choosing who you stand with. Pretty words. I've had a lot of time to think. Naruto almost smiled. Almost. The night deepened. Stars emerged overhead, countless and cold. Somewhere out there, the Akatsuki was moving. Sasuke was making his plans. The world was turning without him. And Naruto Uzumaki sat at the edge of the world, wondering if he'd ever find a reason to step back from that edge. Unknown to Naruto, deep in the forest, a figure emerged from the ground. White Zetsu, his pale form blending with the trees, watched Jiraiya's retreating form with interest. Oh, this is perfect, White Zetsu said to himself. He found him. He actually found him. Report to Tobi immediately, Black Zetsu's darker voice commanded. Already on it, the creature sank back into the earth, traveling through the root systems with unnatural speed. Within hours, it emerged in a dark cavern where the Akatsuki gathered. The masked man known as Tobi stood in the shadows, his single visible eye gleaming with interest. Well? He asked. Jiraiya found him, Zetsu reported. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki is exactly where we thought he'd be. And he's broken, defeated. This might be easier than we thought. Don't underestimate him, said another voice. Sasuke Uchiha stepped forward, his Mangekyo Sharingan spinning slowly. Naruto's never been easy to predict. From what Zetsu says, he's given up entirely, Toby said. No fight left in him. Sasuke's jaw tightened. Of all the news he'd received over the past year, hearing that Naruto had lost hope was the worst. Naruto was supposed to be unbreakable. He was supposed to be the one person who never gave up, no matter what. If Naruto had lost hope, what did that say about the world they lived in? I want to see him, Sasuke said. Oh? Toba's voice carried amusement. Why? Because I need to know if it's true. I need to know if he's really given up. And if he has? Sasuke's Sharingan flared. Then we proceed with the plan. His sacrifice will help create a better world. One where people like him don't have to suffer. Toby nodded. Take Team Taka. Retrieve the 9 tails. If Naruto truly has given up, he won't resist. Beside Sasuke, 3 figures emerged from the shadows. Suigetsu, with his shark-like grin and massive blade. Karen, adjusting her glasses nervously. And Jugo, silent and imposing. Team Taka moves out, Sasuke announced. We find Naruto Uzumaki. What if he fights back? Suigetsu asked. Then we'll stop him, Sasuke said, though his voice carried a note of uncertainty. They left the cavern, moving through the darkness toward the coast where the last spark of hope had gone to die. 3 days later, Naruto hadn't moved much. He'd caught fish from the sea, made small fires, slept fitfully under the stars. Kurama kept trying to engage him in conversation, but he mostly tuned the fox out. He was staring at the water again when he felt it. A presence, multiple presences, actually. His body tensed, old instincts kicking in despite his desire to simply not care anymore. He stood slowly, turning toward the forest. 4 figures emerged from the trees. Sasuke stood at the front, his dark cloak billowing in the wind, the Akatsuki clouds unmistakable. His eyes, those cursed Sharingan eyes, were locked on Naruto. Behind him, Team Taka spread out in a combat formation. Naruto, Sasuke said, his voice carrying across the distance. Sasuke. They stared at each other, 2 broken souls separated by choices and pain and years of misunderstanding. I heard what happened, Sasuke said. About your wife, your child. I'm sorry. Are you? Naruto's voice was flat. Is that why you're here? To offer condolences? No. Sasuke's Mangekyo began to spin. I'm here because the world needs to change. Because people like you, like me, like everyone who's ever suffered, we deserve better. And I can give that to us. But I need your sacrifice. Naruto tilted his head slightly. You want the fox? Yes. And you think I'll just hand him over? I think you don't care anymore, Sasuke said bluntly. I think you've given up. So why not let your death mean something? Let it help create a world where no one has to lose what you lost. Naruto was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed, that same hollow, bitter sound. You really don't get it, do you, Sasuke? Get what? Just because I've given up on living doesn't mean I'll make it easy for you to kill me. Sasuke's expression hardened. Then we do this the hard way. He nodded to Team Taka. Suigetsu grinned, drawing his sword. Karen hung back, already beginning to sense chakra. Jugo's skin began to darken as his curse mark activated. They moved as one, converging on Naruto. Despite the threat that they posed, Naruto wasn't afraid. He wasn't jostled, he was still so empty. His hand went to his kunai pouch, fingers closing around a specially marked kunai. A flying Raijin kunai, just like his father used to use. Suigetsu was the first to reach him, blade swinging in a wide arc meant to decapitate. Naruto threw the kunai past him and vanished in a yellow flash. He reappeared behind Suigetsu, a Rasengan already formed in his hand. The sphere of chakra slammed into the water user's back, sending him flying into the rocks with bone-crushing force. What the? Karen didn't finish. Naruto was already moving. Another flash, another kunai, and he was in front of Jugo. The larger man swung a massive transformed fist, but Naruto ducked under it with fluid grace, drove a chakra-enhanced punch into his stomach, then followed up with a spinning kick that sent him sprawling. Karen tried to retreat, but Naruto hurled a kunai that embedded itself in the tree beside her head. She froze. All of this happened in less than 10 seconds. Sasuke's eyes widened. You've been training. I've had nothing but time, Naruto said coldly. 3 shadow clones appeared around him, each one holding a Rasengan that began to change shape, wind chakra adding a layer of spinning blades. Rasen Shuriken. Suigetsu pulled himself from the rocks, reforming his liquefied body. Okay, that hurt. It's about to hurt more, one of the Naruto clones said. They attacked again, this time with Sasuke joining the fray. The Uchiha's Sharingan tracked Naruto's movements, predicting the flying Raigen's path, but Naruto had gotten better. Faster, more unpredictable. He wasn't fighting to protect anyone. He wasn't fighting for a better tomorrow. He was fighting because these people had come to take the one thing he had left, his pain, his suffering, his connection to Kurama. And he would be damned if he let them. A Rasen Shuriken tore through the air toward Jugo. The man tried to dodge, but the attack was too fast. It caught him in the side, the microscopic wind blades shredding through his cursed seal transformation and tearing into flesh. He went down screaming. Karen tried to run, but he teleported behind her as he gripped her throat. When she turned, she was terrified. "Please," she gasped. "Don't." Naruto's eyes were empty, dead. He tightened his grip. "Naruto, stop." Sasuke's voice carried an edge of desperation. But Naruto wasn't listening. The rage had taken over, drowning out everything else. Karen's eyes rolled back, her struggles weakening. And then Naruto snapped her neck. The sound was sickening. Final. He dropped her body and turned to face Suigetsu, who had reformed again but now looked significantly less confident. "You're insane," Suigetsu said. "Probably," Naruto agreed. He blitzed forward, a barrage of flying Raijin teleports combined with brutal taijutsu. Suigetsu tried to turn to water, but Naruto had learned. He mixed lightning chakra into his attacks, disrupting the transformation, forcing Suigetsu into solid form. Then he drove a Rasengan into his chest. Suigetsu's body literally exploded, water and blood mixing as the attack tore him apart at a cellular level. What remained was barely recognizable as human. Jugo was still down, bleeding out from the Rasen Shuriken's damage. That left Sasuke. He was shocked his entire team defeated so easily as he saw the look in his once friend's eyes. Naruto did not care. He fought without holding back, and he's been training. He's gotten so much stronger in the past couple of years. The Uchiha stood alone now, his team dead or dying around him. His Mangekyo spun faster, Susanoo beginning to form, skeletal at first, then taking on muscle and armor. "I didn't want this," Sasuke said. "Neither did I," Naruto replied. "But here we are." Kurama's chakra exploded outward, the golden cloak forming around Naruto's body. 6 tails manifested, writhing with power. The ground beneath him cracked and scorched. "You've mastered the Kyuubi's power," Sasuke observed. "We're partners now. There's no seal, no prison, just us. Then I'll have to take you both down." Sasuke's Susanoo completed its form, a massive warrior of chakra, purple and imposing. It drew a sword made of pure energy. They charged at each other. The clash was apocalyptic. Susanoo's blade met Naruto's chakra cloak, the impact sending shockwaves that shattered rocks and uprooted trees. Naruto teleported around the construct, hurling Rasen Shurikens that Susanoo blocked with its shield. "Why are you fighting so hard?" Sasuke demanded. "You said you'd given up." "I have given up," Naruto screamed back, forming a massive Rasengan in each hand. "But I'll be damned if I let you choose how I die." He slammed both attacks into Susanoo's chest. The construct cracked, chakra bleeding through the fissures. Sasuke gritted his teeth, pouring more power into the technique. Susanoo's sword came down in a devastating arc. Naruto met it with a Rasengan the size of a small house, wind chakra howling around it. The attacks collided, and the world turned white. When the light faded, both fighters were on the ground, gasping for breath. Susanoo had shattered, Naruto's chakra cloak had dispersed. They struggled to their feet simultaneously. Sasuke coughed blood. "You're stronger than I expected. And you're weaker than I remembered." They rushed at each other again, this time with pure taijutsu. Fists flew, kicks connected, blood spattered the scorched earth. Sasuke's Sharingan tracked every move, but Naruto's combat sense, honed by years of solitary training and Kurama's guidance, kept him one step ahead. A punch to the ribs, a knee to the face, an elbow to the spine. Naruto was relentless, brutal, methodical. He wasn't trying to win. He was trying to hurt. To make Sasuke feel even a fraction of the pain that consumed him every waking moment. Sasuke activated Amaterasu, black flames erupting from his eye. They spread across the ground toward Naruto, who teleported away with flying Raijin, only to reappear with another Rasen Shuriken. This one caught Sasuke full in the chest. The Uchiha screamed as the attack tore into him, microscopic blades shredding through his Akatsuki cloak and into flesh. He tried to maintain Susanoo, tried to defend himself, but the damage was too severe. He collapsed, blood pooling beneath him. Naruto walked over slowly, grabbed him by the throat, and lifted him off the ground. His blue eyes were empty, devoid of the warmth that once defined him. "Give me one reason," Naruto said quietly, "why I shouldn't end you right now." Sasuke struggled to breathe, to speak. "Because you're not a killer." "I was never a killer," Naruto agreed. Past tense. His grip tightened, and that's when they arrived. "Naruto." Sakura's voice cut through the air like a knife. Naruto's head turned slowly. At the edge of the clearing stood Sakura, Kakashi, and Jiraiya. They'd arrived just in time to witness him choking the life out of Sasuke. Sakura's hand covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "What have you done?" Kakashi's Sharingan was already uncovered, assessing the carnage. The bodies of Team Taka lay scattered across the battlefield. The destruction was immense. "Put him down, Naruto," Jiraiya said carefully. Naruto looked at them, his expression unreadable. Then he looked back at Sasuke, whose face was turning purple, his Sharingan flickering as consciousness began to fade. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Naruto spoke, his voice quiet and cold. "He came here to kill me. To rip the fox out of me. They all did. I can see that," Kakashi said carefully, his hand hovering near a kunai. "But killing him won't change anything." "No," Naruto agreed, "it won't bring her back. It won't bring our daughter back. It won't fix anything." "Then let him go," Sakura pleaded. "Please, Naruto, this isn't you." "You're right." Naruto's grip tightened further. "The me you knew died 3 months ago. This is what's left." Sasuke's eyes were rolling back now, his struggles weakening. "Naruto." Jiraiya took a step forward. "If you do this, there's no coming back. You'll have crossed a line you can't uncross." "I already crossed that line." Naruto gestured with his free hand toward Karen's broken body, toward what remained of Suigetsu, toward Jugo bleeding out nearby. "I killed them. I didn't hesitate. I didn't feel anything. And you know what the worst part is?" He looked at Jiraiya, and for the first time, there was something in his eyes. Not remorse, not guilt, relief. "It felt good," Naruto said. "Making them hurt, making them pay for daring to come here, to try and take from me. It felt really good." Sakura's legs gave out. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing. "No, no, this can't be happening." Kakashi's hand moved to his headband, ready to reveal his Sharingan fully, ready to engage if necessary. But Jiraiya held up a hand, stopping him. "Naruto," the old Sannin said softly. "Do you remember what Kimiko asked you to promise her? That first night, under the stars?" Naruto's hand trembled slightly. "She asked you to promise that you wouldn't lose yourself. That you wouldn't let the world make you hard. That you'd stay you, no matter what happened." "She's dead," Naruto said, but his voice cracked. "That promise died with her." "Did it?" Jiraiya took another step closer. "Or are you just afraid that if you let yourself feel something other than rage, you'll fall apart completely?" Naruto's breathing quickened. The hand around Sasuke's throat shook. "If you kill him like this," Jiraiya continued, "you're not honoring her memory. You're destroying everything she loved about you. Everything she believed in." "I don't care," Naruto screamed, and the raw anguish in his voice echoed across the battlefield. "I don't care about honor or memory or what she believed. She's gone, they're both gone, and nothing I do will ever bring them back." "You're right," Jiraiya said quietly. "Nothing will bring them back. But you're still here, Naruto. You're still alive, and you get to choose what that means." Tears were streaming down Naruto's face now, though his expression remained hard. "I don't know how to live without them. I know. Every breath hurts. Every moment I'm awake, I remember. I see her face. I hear her voice. I think about our daughter, about who she might have been. And it's killing me." "I know," Jiraiya repeated. "So why shouldn't I just end it? Why shouldn't I kill him?" "Because," Jiraiya said, and his own voice was thick with emotion now, "Kimiko died bringing life into this world. She died trying to give you a family, trying to create something beautiful in the middle of all this ugliness. If you throw your life away now, if you become a monster, then her death meant nothing. Your daughter's death meant nothing. All that pain, all that love, it becomes meaningless." Naruto's hand loosened slightly. Sasuke gasped, dragging in a desperate breath. "I know it hurts," Jiraiya said. "But you're not alone. We're here. Sakura's here. Kakashi's here. We can't take away your pain, but we can carry some of it with you." Sakura pulled herself up, stumbling forward on shaky legs. "Naruto, I failed you. I couldn't save them. I've replayed that night 1,000 times, wondered what I could have done differently. And I know nothing I say will make it better. But please, please don't do this." Naruto looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. Her face was ravaged by tears, by guilt, by grief. She blamed herself. He could see it written all over her. Then he looked back at Jiraiya, and his expression went cold again. It doesn't matter, Naruto said quietly. None of it matters. Because she's dead, she's never coming back. Our daughter is never coming back. And no amount of hoping or believing or trying will change that. His grip tightened around Sasuke's throat. Kakashi saw it in his eyes, the finality of the decision. Naruto was going to kill him. Kamui, Kakashi's Mangekyo Sharingan spun rapidly, and the space around Naruto's hand began to twist and distort. The warping pressure forced Naruto to jerk his hand back, releasing Sasuke involuntarily. In that same instant, Sakura launched forward, her fist glowing with concentrated chakra. She slammed it into the ground between them. The earth exploded upward in a massive shockwave, chunks of rock and debris flying everywhere. The force threw Naruto backward, separating him from Sasuke by dozens of feet. Jiraiya's hair extended like living serpents, wrapping around Sasuke's broken body and yanking him back toward the Konoha group. The Uchiha hit the ground near Kakashi, bloody and barely conscious, his breathing ragged. Naruto landed on his feet, eyes blazing with rage. From the shadows of the forest, hidden among the trees, a figure watched. The masked man known as Tobi stood motionless, his single visible eye wide with shock. That jutsu, the flying Raijin, the same technique his sensei had used. The same technique that had nearly killed him all those years ago when he'd attacked Konoha as a boy. The Nine Tails Jinchuriki had mastered his father's technique. Obito's hands clenched into fists. This changed things. This changed everything. Naruto, please, Sakura called out, her voice desperate. Come back with us. We can solve this. We can help you. You don't understand, Naruto said, his voice carrying across the destroyed battlefield. None of you understand. Then help us understand, Sakura pleaded. Talk to us. Let us in. I wanted them to feel it, Naruto said, gesturing to the bodies of Team Taka scattered around them. I wanted them to feel the pain I feel. Every single day. I could have teleported away the moment they arrived. But I didn't. I wanted to hurt them. I wanted to make them suffer the way I've suffered. A yellow flash, and Naruto was gone. The clearing fell silent except for Sasuke's labored breathing and Sakura's quiet sobs. Jiraiya stared at the spot where Naruto had been, his expression grim. That's why I could never catch him. He can teleport whenever he wants. We get close, and he just disappears. Kakashi deactivated his Mangekyo, his eye bleeding slightly from the strain. He's completely lost. We have to try again, Sakura said, wiping her tears. We can't give up on him. I know, Jiraiya said quietly. But next time, we need to be smarter about it. From the shadows, Obito continued to watch as Kakashi and Jiraiya carefully lifted Sasuke. The Uchiha was in bad shape, his breathing shallow, his body broken. Obito's mind raced. This was bad, very bad. Sasuke was compromised, possibly dying. Team Taka was eliminated, and the Nine Tails Jinchuriki was far more powerful than intelligence had suggested. Could he take them all on? Jiraiya, Kakashi, Sakura, and potentially Naruto if he returned? Obito was powerful, extremely powerful. His Kamui made him nearly untouchable, and his arsenal of jutsu was vast. But Jiraiya was a seal master, one of the legendary Sannin. If he got caught in a sealing technique, even Kamui might not save him. And then there was the Jinchuriki himself. The flying Raijin, the same technique Minato had used to nearly kill him all those years ago when he'd been just a boy, when he'd attacked Konoha with the Nine Tails. The irony wasn't lost on him. The son had inherited the father's technique, and from what he'd just witnessed, Naruto had combined it with the Nine Tails' power in ways even Minato never had. No, this wasn't the time to engage. Obito watched as they began to move, carrying Sasuke away from the battlefield. He would let them take the Uchiha back to Konoha. For now, after all, Sasuke knew the truth now. He knew about the Uchiha massacre, about Danzo, about the village elder's role in it all. Obito had spent months carefully feeding him information, manipulating him, convincing him to delay his attack on Konoha for a greater purpose, for a world where such tragedies would never happen again. But that knowledge wouldn't disappear just because Sasuke was back in the village. If anything, being surrounded by the people who had ordered his brother to slaughter his clan would only fuel his hatred. The village would rue their mistakes. All of them would. Sasuke would make sure of that. And when the time came, when Sasuke's rage finally boiled over, Obito would be there to guide it, to direct it, to use it. For now, though, he had other concerns. The Nine Tails Jinchuriki was a bigger threat than anticipated. Plans would need to change. Strategies would need to be adjusted. Obito melted back into the shadows, his form disappearing into the darkness as if he'd never been there at all. The clearing was left empty, save for the bodies of Team Taka and the scorched earth that bore witness to the battle. Naruto Uzumaki, the boy who never gave up, had become something else entirely. Something dangerous, something broken, and the world would soon learn what happened when you pushed someone too far. Time skip. 3 days later, Naruto sat at the edge of the same cliff, staring at the endless ocean. The confrontation with Sasuke felt like a lifetime ago, though it had only been 72 hours. His hands were still stained with blood, Team Taka's blood. He'd washed them a dozen times, but he could still see it. The sound of footsteps didn't startle him. He'd sensed the presence approaching for the past 10 minutes. "You're persistent," Naruto said without turning around. "I thought killing your team would send a message." It did. The voice was distorted, playful almost. "It told me exactly what I needed to know about you." Naruto turned to see a masked figure standing 20 feet away. Orange spiral mask, the man Sasuke worked for. "You here to avenge them?" Naruto asked flatly. "Or are you here to try and take the Nine Tails yourself?" "Neither." Toby walked closer, his movements casual, unthreatening. "I'm here to talk. I'm not interested in talking. Not even if I told you I could give her back?" Naruto froze. Toby tilted his head. "I have your attention now, don't I? Kimiko, your unborn child, I can give them back to you." Naruto was on his feet in an instant, kunai in hand. "What did you just say?" "I've been gathering information on you, Naruto Uzumaki. Through your fight with Sasuke, through reports, through observation. I understand you, I understand your pain, and I'm offering you a solution." "There is no solution. She's dead. In this world, yes." Toby gestured broadly. "But what if I told you there's another world? A world where she's alive. Where your daughter is alive. Where you're happy. Where everything is peaceful." Naruto's grip tightened on the kunai. "You're insane." "Am I?" Toby sat down on a nearby rock, completely at ease. "Do you wonder why Sasuke works for me? It's simple. I offered him the same thing I'm offering you. A world without pain. A world where the Uchiha massacre never happened. A world where his family is alive and well." "An illusion," Naruto said. "You're talking about a genjutsu. Not just any genjutsu. The infinite Tsukuyomi, a technique that will put the entire world into a perfect dream. Everyone gets what they want. Everyone is happy. No more war. No more death. No more suffering." Naruto laughed bitterly. "And what's the catch?" "The catch is that I need your help. I need to collect all the tailed beasts, including the Kyuubi inside you. So you want me to help you enslave the world? I want you to help me save it." Toby stood and walked closer. "Think about it, Naruto. In that world, Kimiko never dies. Your daughter is born healthy and strong. You get to hold her, watch her grow up, be the father you always wanted to be. Isn't that worth anything? Isn't that worth everything?" Naruto was silent, his mind racing. Toby sat down beside him, looking out at the ocean. "I know what it's like to lose everything. To watch the person you love die in front of you, unable to do anything about it. This world is broken, Naruto. It takes and never gives back. But we can change that. Together, we can create a world where no one has to suffer the way we've suffered. By putting everyone in a dream. Is it really so different from what they already have? People dream every night. They escape into fantasies because reality is too painful. All I'm doing is making that escape permanent. Giving them the happiness they can never achieve in the real world." Naruto stared at his hands. "What would I have to do?" "Help me collect the tailed beasts. Use the power of the Kyuubi to complete the plan. That's all. And then? And then you get to live in a world where she's waiting for you. Where your daughter knows your face. Where you're a family." The words hit Naruto like a physical blow. A family. The one thing he'd wanted his entire life. The one thing he'd had for just a moment before it was ripped away. "I'll give you time to think about it," Toby said, standing up. "A couple of days. Consider what I've offered. Consider what you have to lose versus what you have to gain." He began to walk away, then paused. "Oh, and Naruto? Don't bother trying to track me or fight me. You're strong, but you're not ready for what I can do." "Not yet." With a swirl of spatial distortion, Toby vanished. Naruto sat there alone, the ocean wind whipping around him. Inside his mind, Kurama's voice rumbled with concern. "Kid, you're not actually considering this, are you?" Naruto didn't answer. This guy is insane. Everything he's saying is madness. You can't trust him. Can't I? Naruto thought back. What do I have to lose, Kurama? What's left for me in this world? Your humanity, your soul, everything that makes you you. Maybe that's already gone. It's not. I can still feel it in there. Buried under all this pain and rage, but it's still there. Naruto closed his eyes. He said he could give her back. In a dream, Kit. Not real, never real. Does it matter? If I can see her again, hold her again, even if it's fake, does it really matter? Kurama was quiet for a long moment. Yes, the fox said finally. It matters. Because you're better than this. Because she wouldn't want this. Don't tell me what she'd want, Naruto said sharply. You didn't know her. I knew what she meant to you. I felt it through our connection. And I know she loved you for who you were. Someone who never gave up, who always found another way. This isn't another way. This is surrender. Naruto didn't respond. He just sat there, staring at the ocean, as the sun began to set. The conversation with Kurama faded into silence, and Naruto was left alone with his thoughts. Konoha, medical ward. Sasuke's eyes snapped open. White ceiling, antiseptic smell, the sound of medical equipment beeping steadily. He was back in Konoha. Rage flooded through him immediately. His hands clenched into fists, ignoring the pain that shot through his battered body. They'd brought him back here. To this place, to the village that had ordered the massacre of his entire clan. A nurse noticed he was awake and hurried out of the room. Within minutes, Tsunade entered, her expression carefully neutral. You're awake, she said. How do you feel? Like I got my ass kicked, Sasuke said flatly. By Naruto. Tsunade's jaw tightened at the name. Your injuries were severe. Multiple broken bones, internal bleeding, chakra exhaustion. You're lucky to be alive. Lucky. Sasuke's Sharingan flared to life. Is that what we're calling it? He knew that he had to play this perfectly because if he did not, he would not get the opportunity that he's wanted for the longest time now. Over the next few days, Sasuke played his role perfectly. He pretended to be broken, lost, confused. He told them that after killing Itachi, he'd had nothing left to live for. That the Akatsuki had offered him purpose, but Naruto's strength had shown him how far he'd fallen. Sakura wanted to believe him. Kakashi was skeptical but hopeful. Tsunade watched him like a hawk. But Sasuke was patient. He waited, observed, learned the patrol patterns, the guard rotations, the layout of the village's security. And then, one night, he made his move. The explosion that ripped through the Elder's compound was massive, chakra-enhanced flames that turned the building into an inferno within seconds. By the time the first responders arrived, Sasuke was already inside. Koharu and Homura, the village elders, barely had time to react before Sasuke's Chidori pierced through them both. Their deaths were quick but not painless. Sasuke made sure of that. This is for the Uchiha, he said as their bodies hit the floor. This is for Itachi. Alarms blared throughout the village. Sasuke moved quickly, his Sharingan tracking every movement, predicting every attack. He needed to find Danzo before. Root agents materialized from the shadows. Dozens of them, masked and silent, surrounding him on all sides. And there, walking through the smoke and flames, was Danzo Shimura himself. Sasuke Uchiha, Danzo said, his voice cold and measured. I should have killed you when I had the chance. The feeling's mutual, old man. They clashed in a fury of jutsu and steel. Danzo's wind techniques carved through the burning building. Sasuke's Amaterasu turned everything it touched into ash. Root agents fell left and right, unable to match the Uchiha's speed and power. But Danzo was no ordinary shinobi. His Sharingan arm, stolen from the Uchiha massacre, activated, and reality began to bend around him. Izanagi, Sasuke hissed, recognizing the technique. You're using my clan's eyes like disposable tools. They serve the village better in my possession than they ever did with the Uchiha. The fight intensified. Every time Sasuke landed a killing blow, Izanagi rewrote reality, making it so the attack never happened. Danzo was burning through Sharingan eyes rapidly, but he had plenty to spare. Then Kakashi arrived, Sharingan blazing, with Anbu backup. Sasuke, stand down, Kakashi commanded. Not a chance. Sasuke activated Susanoo, the skeletal construct forming around him. Black flames erupted across the battlefield, forcing everyone back. I'll kill every last one of you if I have to. Sasuke screamed. You ordered the massacre. You killed my clan. You made Itachi into a criminal when he was trying to save the village. Sasuke, what are you talking about? Sakura's voice, from somewhere in the chaos. But Sasuke didn't answer. He unleashed a wave of Amaterasu that created a wall of black flames, buying himself precious seconds. Then he fled, using every ounce of chakra he had left to escape the village. Danzo survived, though dozens of his root agents didn't. In the aftermath, as the flames were extinguished and the bodies counted, Sakura stood in the ruins and wept. "If Naruto were here," she whispered, "if we had saved Kimiko and the baby, he'd still be here. He could have stopped this. He could have saved Sasuke. But Naruto wasn't there, and Sasuke was gone again." Several days later, the weeks that followed saw a dramatic shift in the balance of power. The Akatsuki's movements became more aggressive, more coordinated. Tailed beasts were being captured at an alarming rate, and at the center of it all was a figure that few had seen, a blonde shinobi who moved like lightning and struck like thunder. Naruto had joined the Akatsuki, or so it appeared. Tobi kept Naruto away from Pain and the other core members, using him as a secret weapon. A shadow operative who could accomplish in hours what might take the others days. The Six Tails Jinchuriki fell first. Utakata didn't stand a chance against Naruto's combination of flying Raijin and overwhelming power. The extraction was brutal and efficient. Jiraiya had been tracking the Akatsuki's movements when he stumbled upon the aftermath. And there, standing over the unconscious body of the Six Tails Jinchuriki, was his godson. "Naruto?" Naruto turned slowly, his expression empty. "Pervy Sage, what are you doing?" Jiraiya's voice was hoarse with disbelief. "What have you done? What I have to do? This isn't you. This isn't who you are. You don't know who I am anymore," Naruto said quietly. "Nobody does." Jiraiya moved forward, hands forming seals. "I can't let you do this. I won't." "Then stop me." The fight was devastating. Jiraiya quickly realized that Naruto had been holding back against Sasuke. Severely holding back. The power Naruto displayed now was on a completely different level. Sage mode activated without meditation, the transformation instantaneous. Naruto's eyes became frog-like, his physical capabilities skyrocketing. He moved faster than Jiraiya could track, hit harder than should be possible. "How?" Jiraiya gasped, barely dodging a Rasengan that would have taken his head off. "How did you master Sage mode so quickly?" "I had nothing but time and a good teacher." Naruto's voice was cold. "You gave me the basics. Kurama helped me perfect it." The battle raged across the landscape. Jiraiya used every technique in his arsenal, summoning jutsu, barrier techniques, sealing methods. But Naruto countered everything, his mastery of his father's flying Raijin making him nearly impossible to pin down. A massive Rasengan slammed into Jiraiya's chest, sending him crashing through trees. He struggled to his feet, blood pouring from his mouth. "Naruto, please, I'm sorry, pervy sage. But this is the only way." Naruto didn't kill him. He left Jiraiya broken and bleeding, unconscious but alive, and disappeared with the Six Tails Jinchuriki. Akatsuki hideout. Pain stood before Tobi, his Rinnegan eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Your movements have become erratic," Pain said. "You and Sasuke claim to be fast-tracking the plan, but I sense there's something you're not telling me." Toba's posture remained casual behind his mask. "Everything is proceeding as planned. Is it? The tailed beasts are being collected far faster than we anticipated, almost as if someone with exceptional skill is doing the bulk of the work. Sasuke and I have been efficient." "The 9 tails," Pain said. "When do we extract it?" "Soon." "That's not an answer. We've captured 7 of the 9 beasts. The only ones remaining are the 8 tails and the 9 tails." "Where is the 9 tails?" Tobi was silent for a moment. "It's already in our possession." "Then where is it?" "That information is on a need-to-know basis." Pain's chakra flared dangerously. "I am the leader of this organization. I need to know. And you will," Tobi said smoothly. "When the time is right. For now, focus on the 8 tails." Pain stared at him for a long moment, then turned away. "Kisame, Sasori, and Deidara will handle the 8 tails extraction. See that they succeed." "Of course." The 8 tails extraction. The battle with Killer Bee was legendary. The 8 tails Jinchuriki was powerful, skilled, and unpredictable. But against 3 Akatsuki members working in perfect coordination, even he couldn't prevail. Kisami's Samahata absorbed chakra faster than Bee could generate it. Sasori's poison weakened his regeneration, and Deidara's explosive techniques kept him off balance. In the end, they subdued him and began the journey back to the Akatsuki hideout with their prize. They never made it. Naruto struck without warning, appearing in a flash of yellow light. His kunai found Black Zetsu first, piercing through the creature's skull before it could even cry out. White Zetsu clones that had been traveling with them erupted from the ground, only to be obliterated by a barrage of Rasen shurikens. What? Kisami's eyes widened in shock. What are you? The flying Raijin made Naruto untouchable. He appeared behind Kisame, a Rasengan already formed. The shark-like man barely managed to block with Samahata, but the force of the impact sent him flying. You're making a mistake, Kisame snarled, his sword beginning to fuse with his body. No, Naruto said quietly. I'm correcting one. The fight was brutal and one-sided. Kisame was one of the strongest Akatsuki members, but Naruto had surpassed them all. Flying Raijin made him impossible to track. Sage mode gave him overwhelming power. And the Nine Tails chakra made him nearly invincible. A Rasen shuriken caught Kisame in the chest, the microscopic wind blades shredding through his fusion with Samahata and tearing into his body. He collapsed, blood pouring from countless wounds. Naruto did not give a long drawn-out speech. He just watched as Kisame died. No hesitation, no remorse, no guilt, no empathy. Time skip. Tobi and Sasuke had been waiting for word from Kisame when the communications suddenly went dark. No reports from Zetsu, no updates from the extraction team. Tobi thought it was best that Sasuke and Naruto were not in the same place at the same time. As he was the mastermind here, he told Sasuke that Naruto was on their side, and when Sasuke demanded to see him, Tobi told him no, as he thought it was for the best given that Naruto has just killed all of his team members. Something's wrong, Sasuke said. Agreed, Toba's voice had lost its playful edge. We need to find out what. At the Land of Rain. The first explosion rocked the tower. Naruto's clones had spent weeks planting flying Raijin kunai throughout the hidden rain village. Now, he activated them all at once, teleporting systematically through the village and detonating explosive tags at key structural points. Buildings collapsed, water systems erupted, the tower that Pain used as his base began to crumble. Konan emerged from the tower, her paper techniques ready to engage. But Naruto was waiting, sealing tags wrapped around her before she could react, suppressing her chakra for a critical moment. A Rasen shuriken, point-blank range. Konan disintegrated, her paper form unable to withstand the assault. The 6 paths of pain converged on his location, but Naruto was already inside the tower. Flying Raijin let him bypass every defense, every trap, every obstacle. He found Nagato in the hidden chamber, the emaciated Uzumaki controlling his 6 puppets with chakra threads. The real body, weak and vulnerable. Nagato's eyes widened as Naruto appeared behind him. How did you? A kunai across the throat. Nagato's blood sprayed across the chamber as he collapsed, the life fading from his Rinnegan eyes. The 6 paths of pain fell like puppets with cut strings, lifeless and empty. Naruto stood there, breathing heavily, as the reality of what he'd done settled over him. Inside his mind, Kurama spoke. You did it, Kit. You took out Pain. I did. And you're still alive, still yourself. You never betrayed me. No, Naruto said quietly. I never did. You knew who Tobi really was, didn't you? Not his identity, but I knew he was the one responsible for my parents' deaths. The one who released you on Konoha. I could never trust someone like that. I was always planning to destroy the Akatsuki from within. Then why go along with it? Why not just refuse from the start? Naruto's hand trembled, because for a moment, for just a moment, I wanted to believe it was possible, that I could see her again, even if it was a lie. But you know better now. Yeah, I know better. Kid, there's something I need to tell you. About the Rinnegan, about what it can do. What do you mean? It's about my creator, my father, the one that first wielded these eyes that make someone a god, the sage of 6 paths. Naruto listened as the 9 tails told him his history, but more so about the eyes, what they could do. What are you saying? I'm saying that the Rinnegan can do more than just summon the Geto statue or use Pain's techniques. In the right hands, with enough power, it can perform miracles. It can manipulate life and death itself. Naruto's breath caught. Are you saying? I'm saying there might be a way to bring them back, not in a dream. For real, that's impossible. No, Kit, it's improbable, but not impossible. The Rinnegan can access the King of Hell. It can restore life to the dead, given enough chakra and the right circumstances. But the cost would be enormous. It would require the power of all the tailed beasts combined with the Geto statue. And even then, you might not survive the attempt. I don't care about surviving, Naruto said immediately. I know, but you should, because if it works, they'll need you. Your daughter will need her father. Naruto looked down at Nagato's body, at the Rinnegan eyes that were slowly fading. What do I need to do? First, you need those eyes. Then you need to gather all the tailed beast's power. Finally, you need the Gedo statue. But Naruto, this is dangerous. The transplant alone could kill you. And even if it works, using that much power could destroy you from the inside out. I have to try. I know you do. Naruto left the hidden rain with Nagato's eyes preserved in a seal. He traveled to a remote location where Kimiko had once worked, a small medical clinic run by a doctor who had helped at the orphanage. The doctor was elderly now, retired, but when Naruto appeared with his request, the old man didn't hesitate. She spoke of you often, the doctor said as he prepared the surgical tools. She loved you very much. I know. This will be extremely painful. And dangerous. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. The transplant took hours. Naruto bit down on a leather strap to keep from screaming as his own eyes were removed and Nagato's Rinnegan were implanted. The pain was beyond description, beyond anything he'd ever experienced. But when it was done, when the bandages came off and Naruto opened his new eyes, the world looked different. He could see chakra in ways he never had before. Could sense the flow of life and death, the boundaries between worlds. And he could feel the potential of what these eyes could do. The hunt. Toby arrived at the Land of Rain to find nothing but ruins. Pain was dead, Konan was dead, the Akatsuki's main base was destroyed. He played us, Sasuke said, standing among the rubble. He was never on our side. No, Toby agreed. He was gathering intelligence, learning our plans, and now he's destroyed everything we've built. What do? We find him, and we end this. But finding Naruto proved difficult. The flying Raijin made him nearly impossible to track. He could be anywhere at any time. News of the attack on the Land of Rain spread quickly. Jiraiya, recovered from his injuries, investigated and discovered the bodies of his former students, Nagato and Konan. The revelation broke him. His students, the ones he'd trained and left behind, had become the leaders of the Akatsuki. And now they were dead. None of it made sense. The Akatsuki was being blamed for the abduction of the tailed beasts, but no one knew that Naruto was involved. To the world, he was still a missing nin who had fled Konoha in grief. Sasuke finally tracked Naruto down through a combination of investigative work and sheer determination. When they met, in a clearing far from any village, the air was tense with unspoken accusations. You used me, Sasuke said. You used all of us. I did what I had to do. For what? What was the point of all this? I'm tearing down the Akatsuki, Naruto said simply. Every last member, every last plan, I'm ending it. And Toby? The infinite Tsukuyomi? All of it. Sasuke's Sharingan spun. You're insane. You can't take on the entire organization alone. Watch me. But Naruto wasn't alone. Hidden in the shadows, Toby had followed Sasuke, hoping for exactly this confrontation. The masked man emerged from a spatial distortion, his single visible eye gleaming with malice. Well, Toby said. The traitor shows himself. Naruto turned to face him, and for the first time, Toby saw the Rinnegan in those once blue eyes. Impossible, Toby breathed. You transplanted them. I did. They belong to me. Try and take them then, Naruto said. The battle that followed was legendary. Sasuke and Toby attacked in coordination, their combined power enough to level mountains. Susanoo clashed with the Gedo statue. Amaterasu met Kamui. Space-time jutsu collided with reality warping techniques. But Naruto had evolved beyond them both. The Rinnegan gave him access to all 6 paths. The Diva path let him manipulate gravity, pulling and pushing with overwhelming force. The Asura path turned his body into a living weapon. The animal path summoned creatures beyond imagination. And through it all, the flying Raijin made him untouchable. Sasuke's Susanoo cracked under a massive Shinra Tensai. Toba's Kamui was countered by precise timing and the flying Raijin's instantaneous movement. How? Toby snarled, his composure finally breaking. How can you use the Rinnegan so perfectly? It should be killing you. I'm an Uzumaki, Naruto said, his voice eerily calm. We're hard to kill. He formed the seals, and the Gedo statue erupted from the ground behind him. The massive, emaciated form of the 10 Tails husk loomed over the battlefield. Toby tried to phase through an attack with Kamui, but Naruto predicted it. His seals were no longer just bound to the ground. He could place them in the air, attach them to the very space around him, upgrading the technique to something more terrifying. The realization, the split-second Toby realized it was over, as Naruto did not hesitate. He had to move. Stepping out of his dimension, he left himself open for the jutsu. A split moment, The memory struck Tobi, as Minato Namikaze plunging that Rasengan into his back, crossed his mind. Obito felt it. He felt the Rasengan. He felt the ripping sensation tearing through his chest. Toba's mask shattered, his body convulsed, and as he fell, his true face was revealed. Obito Uchiha, student of Minato Namikaze, thought dead for decades. "You," Naruto whispered, recognition flashing in his eyes. "You were my father's student." Obito coughed blood. "I was going to create a world without pain. You created nothing but suffering." Obito's eye glazed over, and he died. Sasuke, battered and broken, tried to rise one more time. But Naruto was already there, gripping him by the throat. "There's still a chance for you," Naruto said. "Just go back to the village and forget about me. Just give up. Go back, go be with Sakura. Fall in love. Stop this hatred. Stop this painful life that you're living. Just give up," Naruto pleaded with him. Sasuke's eyes blazed with hatred and pain. "Nothing will ever fix this broken world. My brother is dead because of orders that were given to him. I killed him because he was used as a puppet. This world is broken and it cannot be fixed. There's no love, there's no happiness. All it needs is correction. Then you're a fool. Maybe, but I'm a fool who knows the truth." Naruto's hand glowed with chakra. A Rasengan formed, spinning faster and brighter than any he'd ever created. "I'm sorry, Sasuke. I'm sorry it had to end this way." He drove the Rasengan deep into Sasuke's chest. The Uchiha's eyes went wide, blood spilling from his mouth. His Sharingan faded, the light dying from them. Sasuke Uchiha, the last of his clan, died in Naruto's arms. Time skip. Naruto stood before the Geto statue in a location far from any civilization. He transported Kimiko and his daughter's bodies here. The statue was lying dormant, all of the beast's powers inside of it, including the 8 tails. Only he had the 9 tails inside of him. He placed his hand on the statue, connecting with the beasts. Through the Rinnegan, Naruto could communicate with them all. The 1 tail, 2 tails, 3 tails, 4 tails, 5 tails, 6 tails, 7 tails, and 8 tails. Even the 9 tails, Kurama, who resided within him. "Are you sure about this, Kit? Asterisk?" Kurama asked one last time. "I've never been more sure of anything." The tailed beast's chakra flowed into Naruto. Their power combined with the Geto statue, with the Rinnegan, with everything Naruto had. For that moment, Naruto power skyrocketed, fueling his life force, fueling everything about him as his body glowed with unrestrained power. He poured it all into his eyes. The outer path, samsara of heavenly life technique. Energy poured out of Naruto in waves. The Rinnegan burned in his skull, the pain indescribable. The tailed beast's chakra cycled through him, through the statue, through the boundary between life and death. Kimiko's body began to glow. So did his baby girl. Naruto used the power to reconstruct their body, flesh, nerves, everything, muscles. He was reconstructing them, bringing back vitality, but he could feel it. Even as he was finished with the reconstruction, he could feel the power demanding more of his life force as the power that was cycling through him was going into his life force. He had a lot, him being an Uzumaki. However, he could feel it taking deeper, taking more than he could share. That is when Kurama spoke up. "No." Kurama's voice, firm and resolute. "You're not dying for this. Not after everything we've been through. Kurama, don't. I told you once that I chose to stand with you. That I care about you more than any other human I've ever known. This is me standing with you one last time. Please," Naruto begged, tears streaming down his face. "Don't do this. If this doesn't work, I'll have nothing. I can't lose you too. You won't lose me, Kit. You'll carry me with you. Always. Now shut up and let me do this." The 9 tails chakra surged, more than it ever had before. Kurama was giving everything, not just his chakra, but his very essence, his life force, his soul. The technique completed, Kimiko gasped, her eyes snapping open. The baby girl wailed, a healthy, beautiful cry of life. And inside Naruto, Kurama's presence faded. "Take care of them, asterisk asterisk," were the fox's last words. "And be happy, Kit. You deserve to be happy." Kurama. But the 9 tails was gone. Truly, permanently gone. His life exchanged for theirs. Naruto collapsed, but he was alive, weakened, nearly dead, but alive. Kimiko crawled over to him, confusion and fear in her eyes. "Naruto? What? What happened? Where am I?" The last thing she remembered was the labor. The pain, the feeling of something going terribly wrong. And then nothing. You're alive, Naruto whispered, his voice hoarse. You're both alive. She looked down at the crying baby beside her, recognition dawning. Our daughter? Yes. Kimiko scooped up the baby, holding her close, tears streaming down her face. The baby quieted at her mother's touch, tiny fingers grasping at Kimiko's clothes. But how? I remember dying. I felt it, the bleeding, the pain. I died, Naruto. I know I did. You did, Naruto said, struggling to sit up. But I brought you back. That's impossible. A lot of impossible things have happened. Kimiko stared at him, really looked at him for the first time. He looked older than she remembered. Harder. There were scars she didn't recognize, a weariness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. How long? She asked quietly. How long was I gone? 3 years. The words hit her like a physical blow. 3 years. Their daughter should be 3 years old, running and playing and talking. Instead, she was a newborn, because she'd never lived in the first place. Naruto, what did you do? And so he told her. Everything. About the grief that had consumed him when she died. About leaving Konoha with the flying Raijin scrolls and his parents' techniques. About the darkness he'd fallen into, the hopelessness that had nearly destroyed him. About meeting Tobi, about infiltrating the Akatsuki, about the plan to resurrect her and their daughter using the Rinnegan and the power of the tailed beasts. About killing Sasuke, about killing Obito, about destroying the Akatsuki from within. And about Kurama's sacrifice. Kimiko listened in silence, her expression unreadable. When he finished, she looked down at their daughter, then back at him. You destroyed yourself to bring us back. I would do it again, Naruto said. 1,000 times over. But at what cost? You killed people. You became the thing you always hated. I know. And you lost Kurama, the 9 tails that was a part of you. Naruto's hand went to his stomach, to the seal that was now empty. He gave his life for yours. For our daughters. It was his choice. Kimiko was crying now, holding their baby close. It is horrible that you had to become something you hate. It is horrible that you had to put yourself through that, to suffer alone in this anguish of us not being there for you. And you did all of this, turned yourself into a monster, for us. I know, but I understand why you did them, and I can't hate you for loving us that much. She reached out and took his hand. What do we do now? She asked. We leave, Naruto said. We leave the elemental nations. We cross the sea and go somewhere far away from all of this. Somewhere no one knows who I am or what I've done. We raise our daughter. We live a normal life. Can we? After everything that's happened? We have to try. I don't want to be a ninja anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. I just want to be a father. A husband. A person. Kimiko looked at their daughter, at the tiny life they'd been given back. What should we name her? Naruto thought of Kurama, of the sacrifice the fox had made. Of the hope that had finally returned to his life. Akari, he said, it means light. Kimiko smiled through her tears. Akari, it's perfect. She moved closer to Naruto, and together they held their daughter, a family reunited against all odds. I'm sorry, Naruto whispered, for everything you're going to learn about what I did. For the monster I became. You're not a monster, Kimiko said softly. You're broken, and hurt, and you did terrible things. But you're still the person I fell in love with, buried somewhere under all that pain. We'll find him again, together. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you or her. Maybe not, but we're here anyway, so we might as well make the most of it. They sat there for a long time, holding each other, holding their daughter, as the sun began to rise on a new day. 2 years later, the small coastal village was peaceful, far removed from the politics and conflicts of the shinobi world. Fishing boats dotted the harbor, children played in the streets, and life moved at a gentle, unhurried pace. A modest house sat on the edge of town, close enough to be part of the community but far enough for privacy. In the backyard, a man with blonde hair played with a little girl who had just turned 2. Akari giggled as Naruto lifted her into the air, spinning her around. She had her mother's dark hair and his blue eyes, and her laughter was the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard. Higher, Papa, higher. Any higher and you'll fly away, Naruto said, but he lifted her up anyway. Kimiko watched from the porch, a gentle smile on her face. She was hanging laundry, her movements calm and practiced. This life, this simple, ordinary life, had taken some getting used to. Lunch is almost ready, she called out. Coming. Naruto set Akari down, and she immediately ran toward the house on unsteady legs. As they ate together, simple food, nothing fancy, Naruto felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. the nightmares still came sometimes. Dreams of Sasuke's dying eyes, of Kurama's final words, of all the blood on his hands. But Kimiko was always there when he woke up, grounding him, reminding him that he wasn't that person anymore. He'd left the ninja world behind, left the flying Raijin Kunai buried deep in the ocean, left the scrolls and techniques hidden where no one would find them. He was just Naruto now. Father, husband, fisherman, when the village needed extra hands. The world didn't know what had happened. The destruction of the Akatsuki remained a mystery. Sasuke's body had never been found. Naruto had sealed it away where no one would discover it. Obito's death was attributed to unknown circumstances. Only a handful of people knew the truth. Jiraiya, who had pieced together most of it through investigation. Tsunade, who had been informed by Jiraiya. Kakashi, who suspected but could never prove anything. And they'd kept silent, maybe because they understood, maybe because they felt guilty for not being there when Naruto needed them most. Maybe because they knew that Naruto had suffered enough. Jiraiya had visited once, 6 months ago. He'd found them through his spy network. Old habits died hard. The meeting had been tense, emotional. You threw away everything, Jiraiya had said. Your future, your dreams, your place in Konoha. No, Naruto had replied. I gained everything that matters. The old Sannin had looked at Kimiko, at baby Akari sleeping in her mother's arms, and his expression had softened. They don't know about you being alive, Jiraiya had said. About her, and I won't tell them. Not if you don't want me to. Thank you. But Naruto, what you did, the people you killed, that can't be undone. I know. Can you live with it? Naruto had looked at his daughter, at his wife, at the life they were building together. I have to, he'd said. For them. Jiraiya had left shortly after, promising to keep their secret. Whether out of love for his godson or guilt for his failures, Naruto would never know. Now, as Akari babbled excitedly about a butterfly she'd seen earlier, Naruto felt Kimiko's hand slip into his under the table. You're thinking about it again, she said quietly. Yeah, about Kurama? He nodded. The absence of the 9 tails was still strange, even after 2 years. There was a hollowness inside him where the fox's presence used to be. An emptiness that would never be filled. He gave us this, Naruto said. This life, this chance. I think about him every day. He must have cared about you very much. We were partners, friends, brothers, almost, and I never even got to say goodbye properly. Kimiko squeezed his hand. Then live the life he wanted for you. Be happy, raise our daughter. That's how you honor his memory. I'm trying, I know. After lunch, while Akari napped, Naruto walked down to the beach. The ocean stretched endlessly before him, the same ocean he'd stared at when he'd hit rock bottom all those years ago. But everything was different now. He knelt in the sand and closed his eyes. Thank you, Kurama, he whispered to the wind. For everything. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. For giving me the strength to go on. For sacrificing yourself so they could live. The wind picked up, warm and gentle against his skin. And for just a moment, Naruto could have sworn he heard the fox's rumbling voice one last time. Be happy, Kit, that's all I ever wanted for you. When he opened his eyes, he was alone. But he wasn't lonely, not anymore. He had Kimiko. He had Akari. He had a future. The cost had been devastating. The things he'd done would haunt him forever. But sitting here, on this beach, with the knowledge that his family was waiting for him back at the house, Naruto Uzumaki found something he thought he'd lost forever. Hope. Not the naive hope of his childhood, that everything would magically work out. But a harder, more realistic hope. The hope that even after losing everything, even after becoming something terrible, redemption was possible. That second chances existed. That love could survive even death itself. He stood up, brushed the sand from his pants, and walked back toward the house. Toward Kimiko and Akari, toward the life he'd fought so hard to reclaim. The ninja world would go on without him. Wars would be fought, villages would rise and fall, new heroes would emerge. But Naruto Uzumaki was done with that world. He'd found his peace, and this time, nothing would take it away from him. Epilogue. Years later, when Akari was old enough to understand, Naruto told her stories. Not about his ninja days, those were too dark, too painful. But about her namesake, about the light that had guided him through his darkest times. He told her about a great fox spirit who had once lived inside him, who had been his friend and protector. About how the fox had given its life so that she and her mother could live. Was the fox scared? Akari asked, her blue eyes wide with wonder. No, Naruto said, holding her close. The fox was brave, braver than anyone I've ever known. Will I ever meet him? Not in this life, sweetheart. But maybe someday, when we're all together again, you can thank him yourself. I will, Papa, I promise. Kimiko watched from the doorway, her hand resting on her swollen belly. Another child was on the way, a boy this time. They'd already chosen a name.
Karama.
So the fox's memory would live on, carried by the child who would never know the darkness that had preceded his birth. Who would grow up in peace, surrounded by love, free from the burden of being a Jinchuriki or a weapon or anything other than a beloved son. As the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, the family gathered together. Naruto held Akari while Kimiko leaned against him, their unborn son growing inside her. They'd left the ninja world behind, left the pain and death and suffering, built something new from the ashes of tragedy. And in doing so, Naruto Uzumaki, the boy who never gave up, who lost everything, who became a monster and then found his way back to being human, finally found what he'd been searching for his entire life. A family, a home, a reason to keep living. The wind carried the scent of salt and sea, and somewhere in the distance, a fox might have smiled. The end.